Hello, everybody, and welcome to another session from AI Marketers Guild. So I'm Nicola Quayle, one of the co-founders of AI Marketers Guild APAC, along with my colleagues Dakshin Anadi from India and Sushmita based in Singapore. So really great to have you all here and excited to see this community expand across APAC. We've got some incredible guest speakers and one really excited to introduce today, but I'll just give those new to the community a quick background of who we are. So AI Marketers Guild was the brainchild of a US marketer, David Berkowitz, and after launching 2 years ago, it's grown into a really significant community in North America, and you can imagine even over the last 6 months how fast it's grown even more. So we reached out to David to say, hey, can we partner and create a regional community that showcases local pioneers in AI tools and applications, marketing best practices, and world-class AI thought leaders. So we host monthly webinars, and rather than dabbling on the fringes, we love that everyone here is leaning in. So on this note, I'm super excited to introduce our next speaker, Martin Gents. Martin is a Danish management consultant, now turned entrepreneur based in Singapore. So as founder and CEO of UsekaseAI, he helps companies, agencies, and founders turn AI promises into practical revenue-driven strategies. 2 decades of experience guiding global brands through digital transformation. Martin now focuses on all about pushing out boundaries on how businesses can experiment and scale with AI. So it's not just about what AI can do, but actually delivering tangible outcomes. And that's what we're really excited about this session, because it's going to be super hands-on and you can actually take something away with you. So I'll now hand over to Martin to help us create our future agentic workforce. But throughout the session, feel free to pop in your questions in the Q&A. Martin might be able to answer those in real time. Otherwise, we'll follow up afterwards. So welcome, Martin.
Thank you so much, Nicola, and thank you for the AI Marketers Guild as well. It's great to be here and being able to contribute on a global scale. That is what we want at UseCase. Spelled with a K, please, for those of you who might be looking us up alongside this session. So let's dive right in. We have a bit of good news. The good news is that we have an absolute proliferation of AI capabilities right now, and all the rage is on agentic AI. There is a myriad of available low, no-code tools out there that help you to build these agentic workflows more easily than you've ever done or been able to do before. Given that, and the fact that AI models out there, including OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, are hallucinating less, it means we can trust the models more, we can trust the agents more, so the risk is lower and the opportunity is much greater. However, there is also a less good news side of this. Everything is changing all at once. And for us, we're essentially changing tool set every 3 months. To stay relevant is extremely hard. You will all have seen the feedback, or may have received feedback on, oh, you're using M dashes. You're one of them who doesn't know how to write like a human anymore. But for a period of time, the M dashes were completely natural. Now we're looking at other things. It's the way of phrasing that is becoming people's a thorn in the side, if you will. We're saying it is not just, it is something else. And you must have seen this all over LinkedIn as a way of phrasing that's very, very typical for agentic writing. And so staying relevant and staying human in this era is really the challenge. The other challenge is that where we're going to a large extent. It looked like I was getting muted there. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, not sure what happened there. Yep.
We're going from managing humans to managing agents. The bad side, or the bad thing about that, is that it's still management. It's just different packaging. And we'll get back to some of the fundamentals around how this works in practice. So again, thank you so much, Nicola, for the introduction. My name is Martin Gents. I like to say that AI is useless unless you know what to ask of it. And so I see my raison d'etre as being helping as many companies and as many people out there on how to better ask questions, how to better instruct AI agents, and actually lead organizations that are combined human and agentic. And we'll get back to how that can look a bit later on in the session as well. Please feel free to scan the QR code and connect with me directly. I'd love to get connected with as many of you as possible, and hope to have follow-up sessions with many of you as well if you have questions or needs to get started on this journey. I'd actually like to make this session slightly more interactive. And so I'd like to pause here for a moment and just get you to use the chat, if it's enabled, and actually say, if you were to wish upon a bot, what would be your #1 curiosity, or is your #1 curiosity about agentic AI today? I want to take about 30 seconds for this. And so please add a message if you have anything to share. Love to see.
I think it shows chat is disabled, or is that just me?
Chat is disabled. So
Yeah,
Sorry, we'll just work on that. Sorry about that.
No worries. No
Otherwise,
worries.
we can use the Q&A. So yeah, we'll work on that. Apologies, everybody.
No worries. Happy to enable the chat and check in with you all around what are you asking, but also what is your curiosity. So no worries at all. Let's proceed. Good. Now, what is agentic AI and how does it differ, and what are the different, should we say, paradigms of agents that we are looking at today? Those of you who have been in the game for a while work with RPA type automation, which is very rule-based reactive agents. It's agents that really don't remember past actions or adapt. It's these chatbot experiences that say, wonderful, thank you so much for your input. I'll get right back to you at some later stage, and it never happens, right? So these are truly reactive agents. To rule-based, where it's very simple and it's very static what we're asking the agent to do. Take this email sequence and route this lead to this particular person for further processing. It works great in finance teams if you have the need to be more in control of who is given what requests, but it doesn't have any reasoning, it doesn't have any thinking associated with it. It's purely rule-based. Then you have learning agents, essentially AI models that can adjust and incorporate learning over time and improve over time. So let's say that based on the inputs that the model has been given, it can adjust email subject lines based on different perspectives or different inquiries. To goal-based agents that are given a business outcome that it needs to chase, and it'll be die-hard at achieving that outcome. Some of the newer chatbots that you might have encountered on websites that are for lead generation will fall into this paradigm, whereby it really wants to get you to fill out a form after 3 messages, right? That's the typical goal-based agent. And if you keep hammering at it, you might get it to change behavior or still give you some valuable input, but it really wants to achieve its goal. The agentic AI agent where we are now are different. They are able to take initiative. They can adjust, self-correct, and they can act as true teammates if we instruct them and enable them to be. And so this could be a sales agent that notices that a prospect here has viewed a calendar twice but didn't book, and then sends a personalized reminder by email, maybe getting that context details via a tool, a CRM tool, puts it all together, writes the email, with or without the human in the loop, sends the email off to that contact, right? So this is a truly autonomous system that can learn over time and can be very personalized in its outreach. if we look at where we are right now on State of the Union for Agentic AI, we're really moving from Tell Me, which is all about Gen AI and content generation, but it's I give you some instruction and you give me a result, and then we chase each other until we're happy, right? So now it is do it for me. We're getting better at prompting. Prompting is more critical than ever. System instruction is more critical than ever because we need to be able to rely and provide the guardrails for the agentic in doing its job. But what we are seeing is that 60%, the expectations from AI has never been greater. It's not enough for this to be experimentation. We need ROI. And preferably, we want to see ROI within 1 month of starting a new initiative, which is unheard of. And so it is also very, very possible. And the reason for why I think it's very exciting to engage with the marketer community globally is because this is probably, together with sales, and we'll get back to collaboration, the #1 place where we can go for that ROI in the very short term. We also have seen a greater adoption of AI agents, but they're spread across all of the different paradigms of agents that we just discussed. However, more than 50% of all AI deployments are expected to be autonomous within the next 2 years, to reaching that echelon of agentic autonomy in the next 2 years, which is truly exciting, but also requires all of us, if we want to stay relevant and competitive, to get started now and building that muscle memory of how we build and maintain this agentic workforce. Okay, so then let's dig right in. We have a top 5 agentic AI that I've picked out for us today, and we'll go through them one by one. Afterwards, we'll take a little bit of a pause again, and we'll use the chat. I see it's enabled. Thank you for that. And just get your reflections on which of these would fit perfectly into your repertoire or into your team. Okay, so let's dig into the top 5. What you'll see with the use cases is that they're actually building upon each other. When we're thinking about the use cases that we're employing, many will recommend a top 5 that are completely unrelated. You can get some ROI in this place. You can get results in this area. You can generate some content in this way. And many forget to actually think about the cohesion of what the agents are helping us with across the process that we're living in our day-to-day. And so if we were to think about our agentic workforce as fitting perfectly into how we operate in our day-to-day, they must be helpful in following our process. And so what you'll see here is in the first use case, it is where a lot of our work as marketers is originating. It is to understand the trends, understands what's happening in the market, and particularly what our competitors are up to. And so this workflow can be enabled either with agentic capabilities, either by building it yourself, which is what we're going to be spending a bit of time on today, or you can use some of the tools or SaaS solutions in the market that can really get you started with this. It all comes down to what is your budget, how much control do you want, and how quickly would you like to get going? Because obviously, these companies such as Mention, Quantify, and Sprout, they've spent thousands of hours on perfecting the internal system prompts. They've made it very, very easy to just click and drop and select from drop downs and so on in building agentic workflows where you're really not in control of what the agent does, but you have a filter with this provider to help you stay in control. When we're thinking about this agentic work use case, and if a key component in this is speed to market, we want to allow you to start by and advance by in getting quickly going and then getting more quickly to ROI in the advanced use case. And so start this use case by monitoring known actors and known channels. It's very easy to provide system instruction to an agent that will look for this particular competitor using these particular sites. Could be LinkedIn, could be Reddit, which is a very popular trend source these days for social sentiment. And so think about it in this way, whereby you would very quickly want to advance by not just monitoring and providing output, but actually getting suggested responses or even copy for how you could react to this. Use case number 2, content generation and multi-platform publishing. These could also be argued as 2 different agents. We're building them into one here because it makes for more control, it's easier to maintain. There are thousands of workflows you can build for content generation and multi-platform publishing. Most of these are already proven to work. And so it really, again, comes down to the prompt. If you've perfected a VO3 prompt, if you are tinkering around with Nano Banana on your own and you found something that really works, take that prompt and inject it into your agent, adding that capability on, and you'll be able to not just enjoy getting some very dependable outputs, but actually you can use it contextually to build a post that has a beautiful video attached to it, that has the right hashtags, that is targeting the right audience, and it all comes together in one cohesive workflow. Again here, start by potentially generating a blog post from a spotted trend topic, or even connect it to Google Trends or one of the previous agents' output to say the first agent does research for me. It hands it over to the content generation multi-platform publishing that overnight makes 5 different posts for you to be published across 6 different platforms. All you have to do is click a button and it is automatically published, or you can make edits to it before it happens. Again, we have a myriad. This is probably the area where we have the most tools available to us. Out-of-the-box SaaS tools that can help you get going with this and get confident. But I'd like to recommend people to start tinkering with this themselves. Again, when I said before, I was introducing myself as a strategist, a founder, and a builder. This is the era of the builders. This is the era of tinkerers. And so if you have that in you to work with content yourself, work with these agents yourself, and get started using N8N, you're in for a treat, because there are so many accelerators available to you, and it's never been easier than now. Use case 3 and 4 are actually 2 very powerful agents that are bound together again. Remember, from the Agentic AI tier of agents, this is where we can handle not just our own agentic workflows, but we can actually use sub-agents, meaning agents can call out and provide leadership and delegation to other agents as well. This is a great example of that. So lead nurturing and qualification takes your typical lead from your website or other sources, qualifies that by the means of sentiment analysis on different content, can look up additional sources, do research about a particular individual or company to understand what is the value and likelihood that this is a serious buyer for us. It can then hand over that score and qualification to a hyper-personalized cross-channel outreach. And bear with me on the buzz here. We mean hyper-personalized because, again, we've done research about this context. We know the context, and we have access to cross-channel outreach. We can use email. We can even use SMS. It's natively implemented as a tool in N8N, which is one of the workflow platforms that we are using in use case with our clients and are very, very happy with. But there, again, are so many that you can really choose which one you want to work with and get going with this. Also here, you know Apollo.io, you know many of these tools that can help you get going with this as well. So choose your favorite approach again. Start by doing simple lead scoring and set up email outreach and reporting. Maybe advance very quickly to add multiple channels, making sure that you are reaching your target audience where they prefer to be met. And of course, don't forget to escalate to a human operator when the need arises, either via chat, via email, or simply by prompting on one of those channels as preferred. Slack is a great example of such collaboration. And the final use case is customer feedback and sentiment analysis. Again, we've found out what the trend should be. We have activated our lead generation side of things. We have now scored our leads, and we have personalized the outreach campaign for them. We have delivered rich content to lure everyone and keep them engaged. And now they have converted into happy customers, hopefully happy, but they're not always happy for whatever reason. And so whatever the feedback might be, positive or negative, we want to stay very much in tune with the customer feedback and the sentiment of our market and our audience. And so this agent acts as a centralized listening post, never sleeping, always listening, whether it's Glassdoor because you're losing employees over all the bugs in your product, or it's the conversation is going on about your company and your product on Reddit or whatever it might be. Listen to those channels, understand the sentiment, and report it first and foremost. But the next thing, why not automatically create a task to fix a bug that a user has found and is being discussed? Why not make sure that we have management reports and dashboards ready to report on negative feedback? And even suggesting responses. Think about crisis management and PR, how critical this might be as a tool in your repertoire to not have to wait more than 5 minutes from the time someone comes with a negative comment to you already having provided a disarming response, and whether it be on Google reviews or otherwise. Now I promise you an organization, and here it is. And so if we pull all of this together with the 5 agents that we have now discussed as examples of the top 5 use cases, we have a trends agent, we have a content agent, a need nurturing agent, cross-channel outreach agent, and a feedback agent. Now, how do we manage that work if we're a simple human in an advanced world looking for an AI agent to love me? Well, maybe you want to have a sidekick along this route. Maybe what you really need is an agent that can orchestrate. Again, remember, you are enabling feedback loops. You can understand and guide an agent to not just monitor and direct, but actually also capture learnings and provide feedback loops to your organization of agents. And so continuous reporting and improvement is something that is now available to us and that we should really make use of. And so if we're thinking about the human role in this, I'd like to say that where we're going from having AI in a human's process, we're shifting now focus into being humans in an agentic loop. Human in the loop is a term that you probably heard in the past. And so if you think about where should I be in this loop? Where should I be in this process that we're now redefining? Most companies out there, when they're being asked by Harvard Business School or MIT, are responding that we need to rethink our processes to get the maximum value from our AI investments. And so again, this begs the question, how do I make sure that I am directing and instructing, but also equipped to maintain my agentic workforce? It's no different than having one-on-ones with your human colleagues. You need to provide them instruction and feedback. Otherwise, how would you expect them to improve over time and learn from their mistakes? It's the same principle, but it's exercised differently in the new era. So we're defining, updating, revising, and refining research scope for the trends agent. We're maintaining the brand voice and quality control for the content agent. We will continuously be updating the models. You have probably, just like me, seen how many model evolutions OpenAI is managing to introduce just within a quarter. Who now knows where to use 4.0, where to use 4.1, where to use 5.0, and where absolutely not to? How do you know how to reduce the amount of token spending that you are spending on these models? because they are all acting differently. Depending on how you prompt, it will think more, it will reason more, it'll also be slower. And so if you're working on a real-time agentic workflow where you're expecting a very snappy response, ChatGPT without the right prompts will not be the choice for you, okay? So again, think about this as a live organism, a team where you are continuously iterating and improving. I'd like to pause at this slide before we go into the hands-on demo, where I'm going to be building a workflow in front of all of us, and hopefully be very successful with that. But let's pause for a few moments and let's take your reflections. So, which of these agents would fit perfectly into your process or where you are right now in your company's existence? Please take a few moments to give us some feedback on where do you believe the highest ROI or the highest impact for you might be. I'd love to see your responses. It's so interesting when you're thinking about lead nurturing and lead scoring. The dark side, one of the dark sides and pitfalls of the agentic era is the amount of generic outreach that we're all faced with and receiving on a day-to-day basis. And so it's a great example of someone reaching out to us on multitude of different channels, and for us to really try to understand where should I spend my time, because there can be so many rabbit holes along that route.
I think we're starting to see a trend that the content and outreach agents seem to be kind of the high priorities, because it probably also, to your point, Martin, about the being able to personalize now that it's gone that next kind of evolution, because before it was like, oh, you know, they're going to know it's just a bot. But yeah, I think it's taken a whole new kind of stratosphere.
Every time you have direct engagement between an agent and a human contact, an external human contact, you should always have human in the loop. You should always have an approve button. You should always have the opportunity to make adjustments before something is sent out, at least for the time being. On content creation, I love to see that we have almost every one of the top 5 here as people wanting to adopt these agents. And again, I can't stress more that the more you look at this as a string of agentic workflows that are fitting together, the more value you as a marketer will have. So equipping you at all steps of the way, but also focusing in on where you have the biggest hurdle or the biggest bottleneck today or the biggest need for creative sparring. This is where you want to start. I'd also say that with content generation is probably knowing a lot of creatives myself. It's a very iterative process. Very often you will not get the output you're looking for from the first prompt. You'll want to iterate. You'll want to work with the agent on saying, this creative direction actually doesn't work for this content that I'm trying to create. I need to adjust my thinking around this. And so I find that content generation outside of text, and unless you are specifically instructing it to hit a trend. A couple of months ago, it was this superhero in a packaging with all kinds of accessories alongside of it. That's a great example of a system instruction where you know and can trust the output of it, or very close to. And so there you can automate to a larger extent and trust the agents without having so much human in the loop activity. Okay, let's move on. The next step here is live building an agent for content creation. And this is going to be a very simple agent, but it's going to give you an idea of how we can get going with this. So I'm going to shift into, and this is the benefit of having you all look at my browser window here, because I can switch between the different windows and we can work on this together. And so this is N8N. N8N is a small German startup that is not so small anymore because the world has caught on what they're doing. It's a very impressive company. And one of the reasons for why they're so impressive is that they've built a template library of thousands of use cases for agentic workflows that can get you going just like that. Obviously, in use case, we have adopted these use cases as well. So what we're going to find when you're using the use case platform is that many of these agentic workflows are already integrated and will be contextualized to your company. Now, that is what we're going to get back to in a moment about how generic use cases should be contextualized to your context, in your company, in your environment, for them to be truly valuable. But let's get started on our first step in our agentic workflow. We're going to actually start by starting with an AI agent. An AI agent gives us a lot of the capabilities that we need out of the box. And so this gets us going. For today, we're just going to use a chat trigger node. There can be many things that can trigger an agent. Over time, beautifully, as we're talking about advancing our use cases, we want the agents to work together. So this might be a great example of a later trigger being when the trend agent reaches out, I will start my workflow, right? For now, we're just going to take a connected chat trigger. Okay, this is what it gives us. So we have an input, we have an agent that does work for us. It can do that work for us using a brain, which is a chat model, an LLM connected. We'll do that in a moment. It has memory. Why memory? Because otherwise it will not remember what it did, and it will not be helpful to us over time unless our agentic workflow per design needs to not have memory or should not have memory to preserve its raw system instruction. Let me give you an example of that. I want to do outreach to a contact. Once I've collected data from CRM, I've prepared a message. I've gotten history from the CRM as well on previous messages. I am now writing a new outreach via a certain channel, communication. I am writing that, I'm sending it out, and I'm sharing back to CRM that I've sent this message out. Now, do I as an agent need to remember inherently what I've done? No, because next time I'm doing the same process, I'm getting the history of the messages out from CRM. I don't want to contaminate my process by having inferred thinking, limiting me potentially in my reasoning for around what is the next best message to be, because I want to look at not just the most recent message or most 2-3 most recent messages. I want to include potential changes that a human operator has done to that context in the CRM. And so this is an example of where you actually want to avoid having a very advanced memory. Okay, so if I write, hi there, my name is Martin, it's going to return a problem for us because it has no brain. So we need to equip it with some simple capabilities here. And so we're going to go for a chat model. If you look at the amounts of different brains we have here, we have Llama, Mistral, DeepSeek, anything you want. We're going to go for OpenAI. I already have an OpenAI account. I want to share with you how easy, however, this is to set up for yourself. So once you have an ADN set up, what you do is you go to your OpenAI platform.openai.com, you set up an API key, you add a little bit of budget in there. You will go very far with $5, by the way. So please don't think that this is inhibiting for you to get started. Of course, when you're running continuous agents that are doing a lot of reasoning, that is doing a lot of VO3 content, you're going to be limiting yourself in terms of, or you want to track your budget spending. But get going with a small budget and you'll be absolutely fine. You'll copy the API key. If you have an organization ID, you can add that in. And it's really as simple as that. I already have an OpenAI account, so I've selected it here. From the list, this is what I was saying before. So OpenAI makes it very flexible for us to choose exactly the model we want, the brain that we want, depending on the task at hand. Some of these turbo models are exceptionally good at real-time responses, but they're limited in their reasoning. And so we have to consider which we use. But if you look at the myriad here, there's a whole capability or a training session, and it's something we are training our clients in, on understanding when do I use what model? When is what brain the best one for me? So aside from using the right prompts, that will instantly save you 30% of token spending, to using the right model that will give you 75% faster response rates. These things matter. We're going to go with 4.1 mini for the task that we're doing now, and let's see how that works for us. Okay, so we now have an OpenAI chat model. Amazing. We have a brain, so I can say, "Hey, my name is Martin!" Exclamation point. Now it has a brain, and so it can actually respond to me. It can read my name. It's great to meet you. How can I assist you today? I can say, great, what's my name? I haven't provided any memory for this agent. So how would it know my name? So we want to add memory to our agent. We'll go with a very, very simple memory today. But you can imagine there is a ton of opportunities here. If you are among those who use Airtable, I know it's a popular tool for many marketers. Airtable is one example of how, a memory type that you can employ. So you actually can go in to Airtable, pick out pieces of or outputs of previous activities that you want saved in a certain format, pick that out, and that becomes your memory. And so that's just one example of what you can do, but you can really give it a lot of power here with RAG-based memory to understand contextual search and be extremely fast in its response at retrieving that memory. We're going to use a simple memory here. We're gonna look at the session ID that we have, the chat session that we have, with the chat trigger node, sorry. And we're going to say, hey, you know what? We want you to remember the past 5 messages. Okay. So far, so good. So now I can say, my name is Martin. You see where this is going. Here we go. So a very simple example of now we have memory activated. Okay. So what we want to do is now employ a use case where we want to create a bit of content. And so to do that, we need to start thinking about tools. So what do I want my agent to actually do? And what source content do we want it to employ? And so here, we're going to do a simple use case, which is, you know what? I'm going to feed the chat bot or our agent with a URL, and I'm going to ask it to give me a piece of content that I can paste on LinkedIn. It's not going to be fancy. It's not going to be amazing, but it'll help us get going. And so I will choose the HTTP request tool. That HTTP meaning I can, let's see, I move this out of the way. Meeting's being recorded. I can give it this can take a URL, and it can read that URL and return a reasonable message to me. Okay, so this is where we can use our good old, where is it? I moved that out of this chat window, I think. 1 second. Okay, move this in here. Okay, so we want to go into ChatGPT. And here we have an example of a prompt. Again, this is a collaboration. So provide me with a simple but powerful system message from my OpenAI agent. In N8N, you want to specify the workflow tool to get the right instructions. That takes a URL message from the user, which is called input, and writes a 250-character content post fit for LinkedIn. This is what it's given me. So you are a concise LinkedIn copywriter. You're going to have a goal. You're going to have rules to follow. And you're going to have some output. A single post, no more than 250 characters, ready to publish on LinkedIn. I'm going to copy this code. And now we're going to go back to our workflow. And we're going to say, you know what? We are going to go here and say, right now, we're just taking a chat input and we're responding in kind. But what we want to do is actually give some instructions. By default, you are a helpful assistant. That's what it tells itself. I want to replace this message with my new instruction. Now I'm actually telling you what to do. I also want to make sure that I am using my tool. And so I'm going to open this up. I'm going to fetch the raw HTML for a given URL and return it as text. I'm going to use the get method. Again, of course, there's a bit of learning involved in this. I can drag and drop in when my chat message is received. The chat input is what I want the URL input to be. So I'm going to only give it a URL, and we should be able to see how this works. Let's see what we're up to now. So I have our LinkedIn, Susmita, the post that you created the other day. I'm going to copy a link to this post, and we'll see if we can get our agent to actually give us some output from this message. Sometimes you can succeed in just pasting whatever you want in here, but we're going to concate this slightly down. We're going to send this to the agent. We can see that it's working. It's using our tool, and it's given us, in a noisy world of agentic AI webinars, this session by Martin Gents cuts through the clutter with top 5 AI use cases in marketing and their ROI, offering a clear, practical pause before your next big AI leap. And this is it. It's about 10 minutes. We've built a very simple, but still quite powerful agent that has a brain, that has memory, that takes my input, gives me output in the format that I want it. And you can only imagine, I can probably imagine, how you could expand on this with the tools that you use, with the instruction that you want to provide it, and even kick off a workflow for another agent in continuing this work. So I hope this was helpful. We're gonna go back to the presentation. We still have a few slides ahead of us, but then we're gonna do Q&A for the last 10 minutes or so. So.
It was great, Martin. Thank you.
Wonderful. Glad to hear. I want to take a moment here and reiterate what I said before. When I left management consulting after 15 years in that industry, I realized when I moved to Singapore, I had helped over the past 15 years on very impactful projects and programs, sure, but I had only helped between 40 and 50 companies, all in all. For me, impact comes also with scale. And so I wanted to have a wider reach of what we're doing. And what it ended up being was, if I am pegged by my hours, if all we do is consulting, then I will never be able to help at scale. And so I and the founding team of UsekaseAI set out to build a platform that can actually augment and offset a lot of the consulting needs of the market, especially from the companies that are not able to get access to such advisory today, the small and medium-sized enterprises, of which my family has had multiple companies in the past and have been suffering from those times when I was not available, because I am the son in the family enterprise who knows technology. And when I'm backpacking through Asia, all of a sudden, if the systems go down, no one can save me, right? This is where you use consultants. This is where you use partners. But very often, you just can't afford it. And so we are building the leading library of AI use cases in the market. We have 100,000 data points, and we're using them together with your own data to contextualize and deliver customized AI roadmaps for you, for your company. And so even though there is a top 5 use cases that everyone should probably care about for marketers, what we would like you to do is to use our platform to go in there, add the titles or the descriptions, or choose how the journey that you want. So we're supporting you building an AI strategy. We're supporting you going by value chain innovation to fix growth across your business, or just fix growth for the marketing function or the sales function, or fix innovation and growth and efficiencies and security and compliance for marketing as an organizational area, because you care about everything within your domain. Whatever your need may be, our platform is there to help you get the right answers and get going on that journey for you. And so whether you use the product by yourself or you call us up and say, hey, can you help us wield the product together with us to make sure that we build the right sized AI strategy more efficiently than if we were using traditional management consultants, but stay indifferent and agnostic with regards to the software solutions and the technologies that will be the best fitting for us. We can help you along the way. We can do it more efficiently, and we can get going with you, whatever your context. The key message here is that the best is your use case. So don't go for the cookie cutter YouTube magic bullet for AI use cases. Make sure they contextualize to you, and make sure that the value is fitting your context and your needs. Okay, so we don't have time to go into a demo of use case, but I'd love to talk to all of you about demoing our products, but also to discuss your own journey and how we might help. And so I'll pause on this slide, whereby we invite you to join us in reimagining how our businesses could run in this new era of agentic AI. And so thank you once again for having me for the AI Marketers Guild, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you have. If I can't do it in this call, I'll make sure to get back to you all one by one. So thanks, and let's open the floor for questions or look at the chat.
Does anybody have questions? I mean, there's a lot before, but do you have any updates?
I'll let others.
Questions?
Dax, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Martin about his opinion regarding, using Claude or Claude Code to build end-to-end automations, because there is a shift that's happening. So how are you currently building these automations? Do you recommend using Claude, or do you, suggest building them from ground up?
Yeah, great question. And we're actually actively training engineering teams and using Claude Code right now for clients. And so Claude Code is one of the best tools out there for employing agents and sub-agents to help you on development work, to help you on research, to help you on feature development, to help you on content creation. So Claude is definitely one of our preferred models and recommended models for our clients, specifically and especially for engineering teams in being more productive with product development and even refactoring of legacy code. So yes, absolutely. What I'm showing you today is a very simple workflow where we're using the flagship model, if you will, from OpenAI in order to get a stable outcome. But I'll give another example, which is we're employing agents in use case ourselves, right? And building more agents all the time. And one of the agents, very simple agent that we've benefited a lot from, is within finance. We have an invoice and expense flow whereby all of our employees can submit a picture of a receipt or a PDF document, and our agent will make sure that it is OCR read, that it is structured in terms of the output, and it's placed in a document that is then periodically shared with our accountants. And so that's an area where we're using Mistral, because Mistral as an AI model has excellent OCR capabilities that is very inexpensive. And so always use the model and the framework that fits to your context and needs. And if you're already an organization that's using Claude, why not use it as the brain for your other agentic workflows as well? It'll simplify billing. It'll be making it more compliant for you because you can establish guardrails around security, authentication, to make sure that you can't be breached through the brain itself, if that makes sense. Yeah, good question. Thank you, Dax.
And Robelin had a question around what this might mean for the CRMs now.
So this is going public, right?
You know,
Semi.
might be diplomatic.
So here's my unfiltered, raw response to that. CRM, for better or for worse, and I've implemented CRM solutions for enterprise clients in the past. It's one of the most hated tools on the planet, right? It's the tool that you want to love, but you end up hating for its needs for manual updating, interaction via a clumsy UI, and so on. And so let's talk about the benefits of CRM. The benefits of CRM is having access to a very, very, very snappy, optimized database that contains the gold of your organization, information about your customers. What we want to do is we want to find a better way of interacting with that database. It might challenge the existing CRM providers on budget, because if we're only using it as a database to get content out and to work on that outside of the platform, unless you're employing something like the Salesforce suite, in which case you can use Genius to build some of these workflows and automations. And that might be great for you because you are Salesforce first house, or you've already invested, you're in a 10-year, I'm so sorry for you, but like a multi-year agreement that is locking you into a particular technology ecosystem. In that case, use UsekaseAI to understand what the use cases that are best fitting the technologies that I'm bound to use, whether it be Microsoft Copilot, Salesforce, or so on. And so for CRM, think about it as a great place for you to have your data, but I would pull it out of CRM as much as I could and add some intelligence in your own workflows outside of it, in many cases.
Just by Salesforce, yes. Well, we'll have a final question. So Manfred was saying, or asking, you know, everyone walks away from today, and some people are at different stages of their adoption curve. But if you're just a beginner and you want to get started, what would be your first AI workflow that you might build, Martin?
I think the first one that I would build to get started would be a combination of trends and content writing, trends monitoring and content writing. And so there it is, you can find guides for this all over the place, or you can use UseCase.ai as well to understand, how do I build an agent that can read from Reddit or on some of the sources that I find myself browsing through from time to time to understand what's going on in the market. And so I would set up an agent to read some of those sub-channels, and I would use those trends to suggest maybe once a day and this is an example of the first one we did in use case, to take those trend sources and write a number of different posts, that 5 different variants that is then sent to us, and we're sending it in a Google Chat message. We have a chatbot. We call her our AI co-founder. Her name is Casey. And every day at 8 a.m., she sends us a message with 5 different post suggestions in our Google Chat. And we can just take those and paste them directly into Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever we want to use them, make adjustments. But it's fantastic to wake up in the morning and see the last 24 hours of public sentiment that might have a virality attached to it, and actual post suggestions that we can use directly to stay relevant and in tune with the socials. So I think that would probably be the first thing. Then absolute next thing I would do would be to fine tune a model that would make sure that the output of the content posts are taking my writing style. So I would fine tune a model with how I like to write, looking at the past 10 years of my content writing or whatever it might be, or by actually sharing how we would like to write in the company in case we want to shift things and we want to make sure our brand message is coming across in a certain way. So I would fine tune a model that we are then selecting on that drop down with the agent in the workflow to make sure that the input plus that instruction gives us the perfect posts with the newest trends. That would be the next thing I would do.
Well, I've written a lot of notes. I'll get the agent to read them and give me a summary.
Exactly. Or paste the entire video into AI and say, give me my first 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Well,
Well, thank you so much.
Questions, please reach out. I love to have an individual chat with all of you.
That's been brilliant.
Do you want to just share your QR code once more? Sorry, Nicola. I was just saying, Martin, can you just get that page on? Yeah.
I would be very happy to. Let me know if it's not readable. I will zoom in. But thank you so much once again. And I wish you all a very, very good day or a very, very good night, depending on the time zone you're in.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Martin. See everybody. See you next time.
My pleasure.